Hi, boys and girls. We are ready to start Math Lesson 5 today. So, in front of you, make sure you have your pink problem set that says Lesson 5 problem set and looks like this. Okay, and we will take a look at our lesson objective and our I can statement for today. So, for our lesson today, we are going to be solving word problems involving time intervals within an hour by adding and subtracting on a number line, so similar to yesterday. And I can solve word problems involving time with a number line. So we spent a lot of time yesterday. We didn't make the number lines for every single one, but we referenced the number lines when we were thinking about time. How time, we have a starting point and an ending point, and then we can think about that elapsed time, which is the time in the middle. So we're working on not quite the same thing today, but well, let's just jump into it. How about that? Talking about it, let's just do it. So, but we know that we're continuing to work on solving word problems. Okay, so that's our lesson objective for today. So if we look, and let's just jump right into it. Point your finger or your pencil to number 1, and will you read this right out loud with me? Okay, here we go. Cole read his book for 25 minutes yesterday and for 28 minutes today. How many minutes did Cole read altogether? Model the problem on the number line and write an equation to solve. Okay, so he read his book for 25 minutes yesterday. So I'm going to put parentheses around that. Read his book for 25 minutes yesterday and for 28 minutes today. How many minutes did Cole read altogether? So this is different yesterday, boys and girls, in that yesterday, remember we set up that nice fancy chart where we did the start and elapsed and the end. We don't have all that today. Today we have, we don't know the starting point, we don't know the ending point, but we kind of like have two elapsed chunks, but we're not looking for a time. We're just looking to find like the number of minutes that he spent reading altogether. So that's a little bit different, okay? So I just want to point that out right away because a lot of times when I do this lesson, kids want to set up those charts because they're so fun to make and they help keep our math organized, but it's a little bit different today, okay? So he read his book for 25 minutes, and actually I've got some gaps, some things not filled out in my number line, so I want to fill that out. So if we look, we go from 0 to 60, so we have an hour, and then we're counting by tens, right? So let's fill in the fives. So 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. Okay. And since I look, so I've got, this is a 5, a multiple of 5, but 28 is not. So it looks like I need to add in my minute markers. So do you remember how many tick marks we put in between each 5? It's 4. Good job. So put 4 little lines in between each 5-minute set. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to buzz through this really quick. So if you need to pause to catch up, you can, but we should be able to do that really quickly too, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. So again, if you need to pause, go ahead and pause. So he read his book for 25 minutes yesterday. So here's that 25-minute mark. So we would make the jump from 0 to 25. So that's the 25 minutes that he spent reading his book. So we can show that jump on our number line. So obviously it was 0 before he started reading, and then he read for 25 minutes. So there's our jump. And then he read for 28 more minutes today. So we want to add on 28 minutes to this. So we can make jumps by 5s. We can make jumps by 10s. What do you want to do? Just want to do 5s because it's kind of easy to keep track. If we feel really confident, we can jump by 10s like we could do for 28 minutes. I'm going to just kind of draw a little line there to show that that's yesterday. And then for today, I could jump from 25 to 35 because that would be 10. And then I could go from 35 to 45 because that will be 20. And then I could go 5 more and then some singles, or I can just jump by 5s if that's easier to kind of keep track of in my head. That's what I think I'm going to do. Will you do it with me? Okay. So I'm going to go from 25 to 30. So there's 5. From 30 to 35, there's 10. I'm going to go to 40. There's 15. To 45, there's 20. To 50, there's 25. And if I lost track, I'm going to count each little hump here represents 5 minutes. I've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Can I do a whole other 5? No, because remember, I'm only adding 28. So if I'm at 25, now I need to make some single jumps. So if I'm at 25, 26, 27, 28, and then I see where I'm at right there. So then to figure out, so again, this 0 to 25 represents what he read yesterday, the minutes yesterday. And then I jumped intervals of 5 until I couldn't anymore. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 26, 27, 28. And then we see where I end up. So to find where I end up, I'm between 50 and 55. So I'm at 50, 51, 52, 53. Do you have that on your paper too? Cole read for 53 minutes. Okay, so that's showing on a number line. If I wanted to find out the total, so it says all together. So if we have highlighters handy, all together is a clue word that we're trying to find the total. In this case, we're not multiplying, right? Because we're not dealing with equal groups. So I could just add those two numbers together. So I would have 25 plus 28. And add those together. So 5 plus 8, what do we think? 13. 3 carry the 1. I'm going to circle that up there. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 more is 5. So that would be 53, like a check. Okay, but that's what we're doing. So we were just showing our thinking on a number line. Okay, are we good with that? All right, let's move on. Put your finger or your pencil on number 2 on Tessa. All right, read it right out loud with me, please. Tessa spends 34 minutes washing her dog. It takes her 12 minutes to shampoo and rinse, and the rest of the time to get the dog in the bathtub. How many minutes does Tessa spend getting her dog in the bathtub? Draw a number line to model the problem and write an equation to solve. We're not going to do that. Okay, so we can cross that right off. Draw a number line to model the problem. We're not going to do that. Okay, but I think what we are going to do is we're going to do a tape diagram. Because I think this problem would be better suited as like a redraw, right? Okay, so if we make this an RDWW, and let's look. So she spent 34 minutes washing her dog. Okay, it takes her 12 minutes to shampoo and rinse, and the rest of the time to get the dog in the bathtub. How many minutes does Tessa spend getting her dog in the bathtub? So 34, after reading all that, 34 sounds like the total. Do you agree with that? Let's circle it. Circle 34. So I'm going to scoop my tape diagram, and I'm going to put 34. Okay. It takes her 12 minutes to shampoo and rinse, and the rest of the time to get the dog in the bathtub. Do I have equal groups here? I don't have equal groups, right? So I'm not going to multiply or divide, and I don't have any of those clue words that tell me to multiply and divide. So that means that I'm going to add or subtract, right? So in this case, she spends 12 minutes shampooing and rinsing. So I'm going to make part of that 34, and I'm going to put a 12 in it. Okay. So she spends 12 minutes trying to shampoo and rinse the dog, and the rest of the time trying to get the dog in the bathtub. So if I know that my total time is 34 minutes, 12 of those minutes she spends trying to get the dog into the bathtub, what am I going to do with these two numbers to find this missing section right there? And does it make sense to add? So let me think, just like we did yesterday when we thought, does it make sense? And remember, I said that's one of the most important things that we need to think to ourselves in math is, does it make sense? If 34 is the total, would I add these two numbers together? No, because if I add those two numbers together to find this section, that means this section here is going to be bigger than 34. And that doesn't make sense because 34 is our total. So if we're not going to add, what are we going to do? we're going to subtract. Good job. So 34 minus 12. Okay. 4 minus 2 is 2. And 3 minus 1 is also 2. Okay. So if I think here, I did my read, although I should have done more on my read, but I circled the 34, 12 minutes to rinse and shampoo, and the rest of the time to get the dog in the bathtub. How many minutes does Tessa spend getting her dog in the bathtub? So that's my read. I did my draw. Okay. I wrote a number sentence. What's left for me? I need to write a sentence, a word sentence, right? So to write my word sentence, I look at the question and it says, how many minutes does Tessa spend getting her dog in the bathtub? So she spends 22 minutes getting her dog in the tub. I'm going to shorten that to tub. I always tell my kids in class, boys and girls, as soon as I start writing, you start writing. That way you're not dragging on or still writing 5 minutes after I'm done, right? But if you need to pause it, you certainly can do that. But if you're staying right along with me, then you'll be done pretty close after I am. So then we can check off that last W. Okay, we feel okay with that one? Okay, so we're using the RDWW process. We're just not multiplying and dividing. We're adding and subtracting now. Okay, if we look at number 3, put your finger on Tessa. So we're still talking about Tessa and her dogs. Okay, Tessa walks her dog for 47 minutes. Jeremiah walks his dog for 30 minutes. How many more minutes does Tessa walk her dog than Jeremiah? Okay, so if I look here, Tessa walks her dog for 47 minutes. So that's important, right? So Tessa walks her dog for 47 minutes. So I'm just going to kind of, sometimes it's just good to, we can bracket it, but we can also kind of take notes. Tessa walks her dog for 47 minutes. Jeremiah walks his dog for 30 minutes. I'm actually just going to put a J and for 30 minutes. My question is, how many more minutes does Tessa walk her dog than Jeremiah? Here's a clue word or clue phrase in there. Does anybody know what it is? I got my highlighter ready. How many more? How many more? How many more tells us that we're going to subtract. That is a good clue word, that we're going to subtract. So I kind of just set up this little chart here. So Tessa's 47 and Jeremiah is 30, and I want to know how many more minutes. And I could even set up, if this is Tessa and she has 47 minutes and Jeremiah has 30 minutes, is Jeremiah going to be bigger or smaller than Tessa, his tape diagram? It's going to be smaller. Okay. And I want to know how many more minutes did Tessa walk her dog than Jeremiah. So what am I going to do with these two numbers? I'm going to subtract, right? What number goes on top? Tessa's number, the 47, because hers is bigger, right? She walked her dog longer. So 47 minus 30 equals, okay, 7 minus 0 equals 7. 4 minus 3 equals 1. Okay, we didn't even write RDWW. I know it is so ingrained in my head to do that when I see a word problem, and I hope that it's getting that way with you too, that sometimes I don't even write it, I just do it. So I hope that we're getting in the habit of doing that too. We definitely did our read. We did our draw. We wrote a number sentence. So what's left for us? A word sentence. So how many more minutes does Tessa walk her dog? So Tessa, with a capital T, Tessa walks her dog 17 minutes more. And spelling should be correct, right? Because 1, it's right there for you to see. And 2, it's in the problem. So that's what I always say to the kids too. If we're writing a sentence and our information is coming from the problem, then our spelling should be correct. Okay. And again, if you ever wanted to pause your video and come back and check it afterwards, please do that. And if your work looks a little bit different, but you got to the same answer, that's okay. But just check out my method too, because sometimes we may see something and say, oh yeah, that was easier. Or maybe you even have an easier method. Okay, flip it over when you're ready. All right. If you want to pause and work on these on your own, you sure can do that. And then just come back and check with me. Okay. All right. So number 4, it takes Austin 4 minutes to take out the garbage, 12 minutes to wash the dishes, and 13 minutes to mop the kitchen floor. How long does it take Austin to do his chores? Okay. So if I set this up as RDWW, so it takes Austin 4 minutes to take out the garbage, 12 minutes to wash the dishes, and 13 minutes to mop the kitchen floor. He is a busy boy doing lots of chores. How long does it take Austin to do his chores? Okay, so there's my read, and I want to think about what I'm doing. I have like a list of things, and I have 3 numbers, but I'm looking for the total. I want to know how much time it takes him to do his chores, which means I need to find the total of all these numbers. Okay, so if I think about it, so here is his 4 minutes to take out the garbage. Okay, and then he's got 12 minutes to do the dishes and 13 minutes to mop the kitchen floor. So this is like not even the normal tape diagram, right? But this is what sometimes if we just draw what makes sense in our head. So I'm thinking tape diagrams, but he's doing 3 different chores. So it made sense for me to draw 3 different things. And I kind of made them the size of the time that they were. 4 minutes was the smallest, then 12, and then 13. So that was supposed to be a little bit bigger than the 12, but it might even look smaller. But we get the idea, right? So when I think about it, how long does it take Austin to do all his chores? What would I do with all 3 of these amounts of time to find out how much time it takes him to do his chores? I would add him, right? Because he does something and then he does something more and then he does something more. So the time, we're moving through time, right, for him to do that. So I'm going to put a plus sign in between each of those because I'm just adding those all up together. And you can add them if you want to do like a column of 3 numbers, or if you want to add 2 numbers and then add the third, you can do that. I'm going to do 13 and then I'm going to do 12. And I think I'm just going to do like a column of 3 digits or of the 3 numbers. And I'm going to add them just like that. Okay. Sometimes kids like to add 2 numbers and then add the third one after, which is fine. Okay. So 3 plus 2 is 5. And then 5 plus 4 is 9. And 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay, so we did our draw. We wrote our number sentence. What's left? To write a word sentence. Does it make sense to say that it took Austin 29 minutes to do his chores? That makes sense, right? Because if it's 4 minutes, 12 minutes, and 13 minutes, it makes sense that it could take 29 minutes, a total of all those together. Okay, so for my sentence, how long does it take Austin to do his chores? It takes him 29 minutes. And I'm just going to leave it right at that. It takes him 29 minutes. Okay? All right, look at B. Austin's bus arrives at 7:55 a.m. If he starts his chores at 7:30 a.m., will he be done in time to meet his bus? Explain your reasoning. This makes me think of like what we did yesterday with the start, elapsed, and end. Does that make you think of that? Because we know a starting time and we know the ending time, or the time that his bus arrives. So the bus arrives at 7:55. So that would kind of be like the ending time. And he starts his chores at 7:30. So this would be like the ending time. This would be the starting time. And I want to know, will he be done in time to meet his bus? Explain your reasoning. So if it takes him 29 minutes, does he have time in that elapsed time is what we're trying to figure out. Okay. So let's make a chart. Start, elapsed, end. Okay. So we already said the start time was 7:30. The ending time we identified as 7:55. And we're trying to figure out how much time he has in between there. So what do I do? If I know the start and I know the elapsed, or the end, sorry, I know the start, I know the end. I'm trying to find that middle time. So what do I do with those two numbers to find that middle time? I'm going to subtract, right, to find out how much time passed. So we're going to put the ending time on top, which is 7:55 minus 7:30. Okay. And then I subtract. 5 minus 0 is 5. 5 minus 3 is 2. And 7 minus 7 is 0. And I can put that colon in there. So 25. So that means that he has 25 minutes in between when he starts his chores and when the bus comes. But it takes him 29 minutes to do his chores. So does he have enough time? Because it takes him 29. So no, with a capital N, comma, because he needs 29 minutes to do his chores. Period. Make sure for all of our word sentences, our sentences, we are beginning with a capital letter and ending with a period. I didn't say that, I don't think, which what is wrong with me? That's always something that I harp on, right? All right. I'm going to leave it up to you if you want to test out number 5. It would be a good idea for you to do number 5 to practice with your clocks. But think here your start, elapsed, end as well. Okay, so you could set up that chart for yourself to find what time the cat goes to sleep. Okay, but super job today, boys and girls. Keep it up, and I will see you tomorrow.